guys, to the followers of the Multiverse podcast, our Marvel podcast, next to our Star Wars podcast over at Followers of the Force. I'm one of your hosts, David, and I have a guest that hasn't been here for a very long time.
Years and years.
4 years, almost 5. I don't even know. I know it was 2017 when we started, and then 2018 I went solo, and then now I'm with 6 other people. And now I think it's better because we finally have a microphone that I don't have to share with you and be next to, whatever. But it is my father that is joining me today.
Yes.
I think we've kept that a cliffhanger for 4 years in case nobody knew. But
maybe, I don't know if it was mentioned before.
Yeah, but anyway, we're going to be talking about the Eternals and a larger discussion on the current state of the MCU. So I know that's what you wanted to talk about more so than like not frame by frame of the movie, but just focusing on the movie itself, which we'll definitely get into. But go for it, whatever you wanted to say about the current state of affairs in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Well, we had Avengers Endgame, and that kind of put everything into, the nice little bow at the end of that whole phase or phases or whatever it was. And then we start out with Far From Home, right? Which is kind of teases the multiverse, right? But it's not really the multiverse as far as we know right now. It wasn't. It was all an act. Then after that, we get Black Widow, right? Which takes place after Civil War. So really not a cohesive yet thing going on for this phase of the MCU.
Right, it's like putting a puzzle together, kind of.
Well, yeah, but then we get, and then we've got these TV shows that are going on, right, which is all kind of supposed to be into it. WandaVision, and then Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and then Loki and What If. So Loki and What If are really multiverse shows, right? Falcon and Winter Soldier really isn't, as far as we know, again, a multiverse show. And WandaVision, kind of, but again, teasing the multiverse.
Yeah. Without
really it being the multiverse. So and then in the movies now we get Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings. Again, not multiverse. And then we get the Eternals. Right? Which, as far as we know, again, not multiverse. No teasing of multiverse. Kind of draws back to Endgame because of the snap.
Yeah.
And stuff. So it just seems to me right now, and part of this could be the pandemic, part of it could just be, whatever, scheduling or something. But it's a little bit not as clear as the first phases of the MCU were. Like Iron Man, Captain America, the Avengers Initiative. It was kind of all building. This one, to me, there's some building, but it almost seems like there's two different, parallel worlds going on at the same time. One going towards the multiverse, and then the other one is just kind of regular, just normal everyday events that are going on. And now leading into No Way Home, which is apparently like the first honest to goodness multiverse movie.
Yeah.
So no, I just wanted to kind of lead in with that I'm not confused. I'm just it's just all not in sync right now, at least as far as I can tell. Now we got Hawkeye coming out in a couple of weeks. Again, doesn't appear related to the multiverse right now. Maybe there could be aspects of that will hit, but I don't know. I mean, do you feel the same way? Do you feel differently, or am I full of beep?
I think with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, it's almost like certain characters, where they are, I think they just can't. I don't look at Falcon and the Winter Soldier and say they're going to be front and center dealing with the multiverse right now. Same with, Loki, yes, because obviously, he's a god and we see what happens in that show. WandaVision, it's more so left for the end. But I feel like a lot of the stuff that has come out until Eternals and until Spider-Man was more so character-driven stuff. Because obviously you had an origin story with, kind of an origin story with Shang-Chi and Black Widow. You were going back in the past, but then the post-credit scene puts it in present day with Yelena seeing that Clint was... Well, she's going after Clint. She thinks he killed Natasha. But
yeah,
as far as everything kind of not being... not leading up to something cohesively, I think except for Falcon and the Winter Soldier, every other thing, and minus Black Widow too, every other thing ends with a tease. Shang-Chi at the end with Captain Marvel and Wong and whatever, I forget what they're looking at. I've only seen the movie one time.
Well, they're looking at the 10 rings and there was like a signal.
Yeah, signal. So what's that signal? Is it Strange's spell when that happens at the end of that movie? Is it the stuff going on at the end of Loki, the branching off of the realities? Or is it something else?
Yeah, no.
Or is it the Eternals?
It just seems very and again, I'm doing the wrong thing because
and also I forgot to say this is full spoilers on the Eternals if you want. No spoilers. That episode came out last Friday.
Yeah. I guess what I'm getting at, and I'm doing the wrong thing, which is I'm comparing to, the whole Infinity War saga, which is everything was kind of lined up. At the end of one movie you see Thor's hammer. At the end of another movie you get the Avengers Initiative. At the end of another movie. You get the him sending out the signal to Captain Marvel. So it's like everything was
one leads to another.
One leads to another. One leads to another. In this one, it just I just don't get that feeling. And it could be there's a reason behind that everything is disjointed because we're heading into the multiverse. I don't know, but it was you see. The other characters at the end of Shang-Chi in the post credits, you see Captain Marvel, you see Hulk, you see or Banner, you see. But then in the Eternals, it's again like completely out there, So
it's kind of like each story is dealing with their own thing, not so much looking at the overall effect.
Yeah, right now.
They're self-contained stories right now.
Yeah, right now.
Until the end of Loki and WandaVision, which you figure both of those, we assume, could tie into Doctor Strange.
And to No Way Home.
And then same way No Way Home to Doctor Strange.
Yeah, I have a feeling that once No Way Home gets here, things will tie in together, minus the Eternals. I really think that the Eternals is going to be something, for a while at least, separate.
Yeah.
I don't, I just don't think, I don't see how they're tying the Eternals in right now with everything else going on. But, we'll see. So I just wanted to bring that up, going into No Way Home, that we'll see if these movies now start tying together. Does No Way Home really tie to Doctor Strange? And then does Doctor Strange tie into the next Thor movie? Because all of us have theories as far as why all of these different characters are going to start popping up, and is it because of the multiverse, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, we'll see.
I think a good thing to do would be to go back and watch that last episode of Loki. Because Kang kind of gives you talking about the multiversal war and all that stuff. And I think rewatching that could be beneficial.
Well, yeah, and I mean, it leads into this whole thing about, different universes and how one universe can be very similar to another, and that you got in What If. Only one decision can change, what happens. So, who knows? Maybe we were faked out in one of these movies that we just saw, and it happens in another universe, and we're thinking that it's in ours. You never really know until later if that's the case. Right now, as far as we know, all of these shows and all of the movies take place in this universe, and if that's the case, then then fine. If they come back later and say, "Oh no, what you were watching was actually in another universe," I think that would
confuse so many people.
But at some point, it may happen unless the viewpoint is going to always be from this universe, and what we'll have are people, coming into our universe, instead of people from this universe going over to other universes. We'll see. So then, I don't know if you want to go ahead and move over to the Eternals.
Yeah, why not?
So, I have to look at the Eternals two ways. One is just as a standalone motion picture, which I enjoyed a lot. The action, the humor, the twists and turns in the movie. A little long. A couple of places could have been, tied up a little bit quicker. Maybe in sometime. I remember there being one part where they were in present day and they switched back, and I was, wait a minute, are we in present day or are we, and it was near the beginning of the movie. And they went to, they told you where they were a little bit late in the game, and that was a little confusing. But other than that, I really enjoyed it as a movie. It was a lot of fun, which is why you go to the movies.
Right.
As part of the MCU, we were talking about this the other day. You had no idea this could have been something other than an MCU movie. I mean, other than them dropping some names and talking about the snapping of the finger, that was it.
Yeah.
So, it in a way, it kind of reminded me of, again, something we spoke of the other day, the old Netflix shows where they talked about stuff that happened in the MCU, but it wasn't really a part of the MCU at that time. So I really enjoyed it overall. I thought it was well, I don't understand a lot of the reviews of the movie. I don't know what people were expecting. I walked in with, just like Guardians of the Galaxy, the very first preview that you saw of that with Ooga Chaka, and you didn't know what you had no idea what that movie was going to be about,
right,
or how good it was going to be, and was really surprising and really good. And I felt the same way about the Eternals. I thought it was a really good, well put together movie. How it rates up there with the MCU movies, a little more difficult because it has nothing to do with the MCU movies, really.
Yeah, this to me, and I don't know if this is the official start of Phase 4 or if that was Shang-Chi or if that was Black Widow. I honestly don't know. But this, if you wanted to start a new phase, this is the movie to do it. Because it's really a fresh start. And this movie had, kind of like what Guardians did, like you just said, the really hard task of trying to get you on board with, 8 new characters that you had never heard of.
Oh, yeah.
And get you committed to those characters and make you care about those characters. And I said it in the other review. Within 15 minutes, I gave a shit.
Right.
I didn't like when Gilgamesh died.
Right.
I didn't like when Icarus turned.
Yeah, but when the Sprite got hit over the head with the rock, you really liked that.
Druig was. I think he had enough by that point. And at our screening, everybody started applauding.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's like if and kind of having some connective tissue to the other podcast, that's like if you make The Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and Rise of Skywalker, and Luke, Leia, Han, Chewie, the droids, nowhere.
Right.
They're gone.
Right.
And then you're like, okay, I'm familiar with the world, but I don't know anybody.
Right.
And do I still think it could have worked with the characters that they picked? Yeah. Do I wish the story would have gone differently? Yeah. But with this one, everybody had, in my opinion, their own arc, and to do it with that many characters in 2 hours and 40 minutes is freaking impressive.
When none of those characters had been introduced before, right?
Yeah.
We're not talking about doing it with the Avengers, who all of them had already been introduced in their own movies, or at least characters in other movies. Maybe with the exception of even Hawkeye was introduced earlier. So really good job in introducing all those characters and making you care.
Yeah.
So again, a good movie overall. There were some twists in there that you kind of thought was, possible, but the way that it was, done, was well done. A lot of good humor. What they're going to do with these characters is another question. Since this is a spoiler review, we already know that at least 2 characters aren't coming back, right?
Do we know for sure if Icarus is dead?
We assume that he flew into the sun and he died. Okay, we assume that.
Yeah.
Whether or not he's indestructible,
or whether or not he's like Superman, where the closer he gets to the sun, the stronger he.
I don't know, but they led you to believe that he
right.
gave his life because of whatever guilt or the whole thing.
Yeah.
And Gilgamesh kind of lives on in memory, but not really, because Thena killed the
deviant
Crow at the end. So all of these are a lot of cool characters. Obviously, any one of them, I think, would be able to, maybe in tandem with another character, but I think most of them would be able to carry a movie on their own.
Yeah.
Although there really isn't now any time. You don't really need more exposition on the characters. It would be going forward. I don't think you need to go back and show me any more of the past at this point. But yeah, Cersei and all of them. It's funny. You remember all of these characters and you cared about them. The only thing you really don't get with these characters is any music. But I think that's something.
Yeah, it's hard to put 8 8 or 10 different themes.
I don't think you can. But there's no overriding theme,
right? Yeah, if you ask me what's the Eternals theme, I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe upon a rewatch I'll be able to pick it out. But
Pink Floyd is the main song I remember from the beginning of the movie.
Oh yeah.
So that's about it. But look, the guy who's going to be the Black Knight.
Kit Harington, Dane Whitman.
Yeah. Again, another really interesting character that you would have. He was on screen enough, but you would have liked to have seen more of his character. You're interested to see what happens to him with the blade.
Yeah.
The character I really have no if I see him again or not, I know that he will appear again, is Thanos' brother.
Eros.
Eros, whether or not, because I'm not that.
Right.
This is another tier of characters in Marvel that I've really never followed. So whether, they appear again,
And if you're coming to this show for comic book knowledge, you're in
don't.
the wrong friggin' place, man.
Yeah.
I will read comics. I have a whole stack of Spider-Man comics that I'm staring at right there. But if you're coming to this podcast to learn about comic lore and every character under the sun, turn this off, because you're not going to find it.
Yeah, this is
from a fan perspective with maybe a little bit of knowledge, but the main points. Peter Parker builds the web shooters in the comics and has, different stuff going on, but more so just the theatrically released content that we've gotten, and the shows and whatnot.
Right. The MCU.
Yeah, the MCU.
So, I mean, I don't want to go through a, like frame by frame thing of the Eternals, but overall, a lot of fun. How it connects with the other, people in the MCU. You would think that the one that it may connect to before anybody else will be Captain Marvel, just because of her, like she's always out there. She's
right.
not, or possibly Guardians of the Galaxy.
That's what I was gonna say.
But those Earthbound heroes that still exist. No, I don't. I mean, maybe the Black Knight. Possibly.
Do you know the story of the Black Knight? Well, not the story, but that sword.
Well, I know that it's historically it what it does is it kind of feeds off of rage.
It makes you. It's like what I was listening to. These guys over on what used to be Schmoes No Collider and those guys, now is SEN. It was Christian Harloff and Coy Jandra, who's like a comic genius. The guy remembers everything. And he was saying it's kind of like the anti-Mjolnir, where if you use it, it's gonna like turn you.
Right.
And I think that's his struggle, like wanting to do good, but it corrupts you.
Right. And I think the more true of heart that you are, the less power it has.
Yeah.
So I think, and that I think that's part of this whole thing that's going to happen with him. Which, if you're an actor, I think that's probably attracts you to the role, because you're going to have to be fighting this feeling. But it seems like a lot of these characters now, we're getting into those types of characters in this second wave of the MCU, which is like Morbius,
the more like darker, kind of
stuff. People kind of walking. I think a lot of these different characters are going to probably, hit that or those problems or get into that type of situation. But yeah, I don't, since this is more like Eternal centric, I really don't know where they're going to be heading with these characters with respect to the MCU.
Mm-hmm.
They already said the Eternals will return. Whether or not that's like an Eternals 2 movie, or if it is going to...
If there will be featured in other movies.
Yeah. Like, we have a few Eternals who are kidnapped, and we have a few Eternals who are going to be searching for those who are kidnapped.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying that they could, see something with Captain Marvel or the Marvels, or with Guardians of the Galaxy. Possibly even Thor, though I kind of doubt it.
I think if you were to put them with Thor, I think that creates not that they wouldn't be able to do it, but I feel like you're just at that point, what story are you really trying to tell there?
Well,
I feel like it would detract one from the other.
Yeah, I mean, again, it always depends on what your end game is, not to,
Yeah.
But it really does, because we're going to be dealing with the multiverse soon.
Yeah.
So, yeah, how does that, are we going to have different Eternals from the multiverse? Do the Eternals, I imagine the Eternals would exist in the multiverse. So I don't, I don't know. It's pretty intriguing to see what they're going to do with these movies. We have so many coming out and so many TV shows, and we just have to see where they're going to be going. I don't, I think the multiverse will play a big role in all of this. It just depends on how they're going to use it. We'll see.
Yeah, and I mean, we have a little over a month and a week or so. Yeah, a month and a week.
Yeah.
Until December 17th.
Yeah.
So that movie, obviously we'll be able to get a much clearer picture on how this all works. Because if you've seen the poster, if you've read some of those latest interviews, Jamie Foxx is confirmed by Tom Holland.
Yeah,
Alfred Molina in the
you may
trailer.
be getting some spoilers now for No Way Home. So if you if you haven't been exposed to that,
I'll just say this: there are a couple pictures going around on social media. People have made videos about them on YouTube. I don't know if they're 100% real. I don't know if they're 100% fake. Could lie somewhere in the middle. I have no idea. So I'm not going to be the person here to tell you one way or the other. I'll just say, if you want to see it, it's online, and I'll leave it at that. But with Jamie Foxx being confirmed, Green Goblin on the poster, Doc Ock in the trailer, and Sandman, we assume, being the sand in the trailer and the poster. The big question is, are they the same iterations of those characters from Amazing Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3, the Raimi trilogy? Or are they just different variants of the character being played by the same actor?
Well, and what we're talking about right now, right, is that we were going to be discussing the Eternals, but everyone's focus is on No Way Home, and the reason is because No Way Home is what everyone has been thinking about, which is the multiverse. And I think that's one thing that detracts from the Eternals, is putting it in at this point in this release of movies. I'm not sure if obviously they had to do some rescheduling and stuff because of the pandemic, but I'm not sure that this was the right moment for the Eternals to come out. I have a feeling that the Eternals would have been better if it would have come out at the point of Black Widow, and maybe Black Widow, if they would have released it instead of in May, they would have released it, like in February or as it was originally planned.
Yeah.
But I would have put the Eternals first, then Shang-Chi,
and then No Way Home.
Yeah, is the way.
Because the end of Shang-Chi, as we mentioned, it kind of like, you're like, wait, what is that? That ping out there?
Yeah, it's just that this movie, other than a few references, they're just it's Eternals centric. It is, hey, these are beings that were created by the Celestials to go in and basically protect, pretty much fatten up the pig, for a dinner, because that's what the humans were. It was just getting a Celestial ready to be born, and that's it. So whether the Celestials are good or bad, or they're just in it for themselves or whatever,
I think they just are.
Yeah. I don't buy this whole thing that they're the ones that are creating, like billions of people. I just think that they're in this for themselves, and they like power, and and whatever. You actually think the universe is going to cease because the Celestials don't exist? I mean, I don't, like Captain America would say, There's only one God, ma'am, and
he doesn't dress like that.
And doesn't dress like that. So, I would have liked to have seen Captain America look at the Celestial and go, yeah, no.
I would have liked to see Tony look and be like, oh, shit.
And that's another point about this movie is, and when I talked about it leaving the theater. Okay, I know that none of the Avengers or none of those the guys that exist would have been able to do anything.
Yeah.
But that there's like this thing happening on Earth, and this hand and body emerging from and there's nobody like saying, hey, what's going on there? Do we have anybody we can at least take a look? So it happens all the time in superhero movies, don't get me wrong. But still, it was a little bit whatever. So just to go through this whole thing about the Eternals. So the Eternals, they are kind of awoken because of this stuff that's happening. The deviants are coming back, and they have to reform, and then their leader is killed, and Cersei takes over and is getting everybody together, and then finding out that the Celestials just want the Earth to be devoured by the birth of a new celestial, and then that's, you know.
I really want to know. I would have loved to have gotten a flashback to the reaction of the Celestials when Thanos first snapped. Like, wiping out half their planet. Like, God damn it, man, we were so close.
Yes, Thanos was right.
Yeah.
So
it's like, I'm actually saving you people. I'm giving you more time.
Yeah, he probably knew what the Celestials were doing, and he just didn't want to say anything.
Can you imagine? What a what if, or what a different take to the character if that turned out to be true.
Right.
But
maybe his brother will now tell him, well, that's what he was trying to do, and you guys killed him. He was trying to save the universe by taking out the Celestials so they wouldn't have enough.
Jeez.
But no, that was sooner or later it would have happened anyway, because population would have increased again, and it would have just been a delay.
But so. I have a theory now, and I doubt this is even true because I don't know if the events would line up. But in the trailer for No Way Home, when Wong tells Doctor Strange, like, hey, don't do that spell, and then he leaves with the bags, what if he leaves and where he goes is where we see him in Shang-Chi doing like that fighting thing?
Oh yeah, it's possible.
And then Shang-Chi and No Way Home are kind of taking place around the same time at the point of the spell happening, and that's the thing they see at the end of the movie. And that's why Wong isn't there. You know? That would make the most sense to me.
It's possible, but I think we need to see we need to see No Way Home to kind of see what's actually going on. Because we still have to get some information, you know. Why is Banner back to being Banner and not, you know, the Hulk, Smart Hulk? Yeah. And, you know, again, Captain Marvel's hair is back to being long where it was short at the end of Endgame. Endgame, it was like the very short cut, and now it's back to being long. Is there something in that? You know, are we looking at something odd going on there or not? I mean, to me, probably not. I mean, I don't know how much time passed from the end of Endgame to what we're seeing in Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
Is it months? Is it a year? Is it, you know, I mean, there's obviously some time has passed.
Yeah.
But how much time, I don't know, because in Falcon and Winter Soldier, it doesn't appear that much time has passed.
I think Falcon and the Winter Soldier is like a couple months.
You know, yeah. So that's what's kind of confusing about all of these shows and stuff, is they really haven't given us like a time stamp to know exactly when they're happening. That would
from my understanding, I think WandaVision takes place a few weeks after Endgame. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, a month or two, and then and I don't know about Loki.
I think Loki
could be like right there.
Yeah, Loki can be any time.
Well, kind of like in the same time as Endgame is happening.
Well, I think
in a sense,
I think some time passed, if I remember right, at the beginning, because they had been looking for him for a while.
Yeah.
So I think some time has passed.
Unless time moves differently in the TVA, as they say.
But
we're in now.
I think some time has passed in that. I don't know how much, but some time has passed.
Yeah.
So we'll see. They're definitely they're starting to ramp up. I just don't know how those other shows or movies will tie into this whole multiverse thing, because that's where they're going. They're going with the multiverse. That's going to be the big thing, at least for a while.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have a What If show, and then a What If season 2 coming, and a Loki season 2, where you know that the multiverse is going to be playing, havoc there, and then Ant-Man and Quantumania, that it's going to be involved there. So how it all is going to come together finally, I don't know, but it took them 10 or 11 years to wrap up the Infinity Saga.
Yeah.
So this one, if we're looking at another 10 years, we're looking at almost 2030 before this one, 2031, 2032, before all of this is wrapped up. And are we talking just the multiverse, wars? Are we talking about getting into Secret Wars? Are we talking about, who knows? At some point, the X-Men kind of universe coming in. Fantastic Four, we still need to see how they introduce them.
It's almost like the overarching villain for, like the guy, like Thanos, the guy that was in the background for a little bit, then got a little more front and center, and then became the guy for the last, few movies. I feel like that person is going to get a little bigger each time in terms of the consequence to the galaxy / universe. Because while Thanos' snap did wipe out, half of life, I don't think that has... He had a very finite goal, whereas I think somebody else might want to continue. Whereas Thanos was like, okay, I did it here, I'm done.
Right.
Well,
yeah, that's another good point, is who is the overarching big bad?
I think in the near future it's gonna be Kang.
Yeah, but
I just don't know when that is.
We already saw one Kang get killed,
right? So and then the next Kang is probably the bad one.
Which Kang is it, or is it somebody else? I mean, I don't
because he's like, you're not gonna like the other the other guy,
right?
When he gets stabbed by Sylvie,
yeah.
And then that's the Kang statue in the TVA when Loki shows up, and that's another good point. He's when Owen Wilson and they're like, "Who are you?
Yeah.
What are you doing here?"
Right.
So he's already in a different
in
a different place.
Yeah, because in that case, it has to be that he's in a multiversal place and not in the same place, but a different timeline.
Yeah,
because that's the thing. It's like it's not the same Earth, but a different timeline. It's a different universe.
Right.
So
yeah,
it's.
I'm just gonna need Kevin Feige to just sit down for like an hour and just explain all this to me, because it's a reoccurring conversation every week.
Yeah, trying to figure out how they're doing all this stuff with the timelines, multiverses. If you're in your past, it's your future, and it's all right. Yeah, it's like, I like Back to the Future bullshit.
Yeah, just don't tell me to tell me not to talk to my past self, or if not, I'll disappear and cease to exist.
Yeah.
But final thoughts. Well, we'll just end with a final thought on the Eternals, since that's what this episode.
Well, yeah, it was supposed to be what it was about, but again, it's
it's free flowing. I'm not gonna have bullet points.
It's just hard to talk about the Eternals, because you have to talk about it basically as it's in its own little universe. It really doesn't tie into anything else going on in the MCU. Okay, they were told don't interfere unless it's a deviant. Okay, well, that's fine. Then you really can't talk about the rest of the MCU because they weren't involved. So, but as a standalone movie, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it from at the beginning. I thought
it almost feels like a palate cleanser before Spider-Man. Like, here's a story where it's going to factor in the future, obviously, but right now you could just watch it and not have watched any of the other Marvel movies and just watch it for I think the Eternals are going to be equated to the Guardians of the Galaxy for this phase. As the Guardians of the Galaxy wind down, like if this is their last movie coming up, the third one, if that's it for them, maybe they'll appear again, but not as Guardians of the Galaxy. Then I think the Eternals will become what the Guardians of the Galaxy were, where they're not necessarily involved with what's going on Earth, until something
else happens,
Right.
like the final confrontation, and then they will get involved and help. I think
It's almost like the Watcher in that respect.
Yeah, I think they're going to be involved in their own thing, rescuing their people, their other Eternals, going after the Celestials and stuff, until whatever happens at the end, and then they'll help, or they'll go in and then help whoever the Avengers are at that point, or maybe one of them will become an Avenger. I don't know.
Yeah.
But overall, they left me wanting to see these characters more of these characters.
Mm-hmm.
And if a movie does that, they succeeded. It's not like I left the theater and said I could really care. I really could care less if I ever see them again. I didn't feel that way. I felt, I wanted to see their story continue. So if you do that,
that's fair.
I think you do a good job. What I don't understand are all the bad reviews. I don't get it.
I don't understand.
I don't get it. I thought the crowd reaction, I thought everything was what you want in one of these movies. It was fun.
And it treated, what I really liked about it, it didn't make me feel, not saying if you didn't like the movie, it's because you weren't paying attention or whatever, but it didn't make me feel like it was just, a movie I don't know, it was a smart movie. It made me, actively want to pay attention and understand what was going on, instead of subconsciously saying, okay, it's an origin story, they're going to go through this, Act 1 is the powers thing, Act 2 is the struggle, Act 3, the resolution. This one, it's it's very information heavy, but in a really good way.
Yeah,
to me.
Yeah,
you have to pay attention. If you're not paying attention, you're gonna miss a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And I know that subtitles could have benefited this movie for sure, and that's what I'm gonna do when it goes on Disney Plus, is rewatch it with subtitles, 'cause I'm sure I missed something. But overall, I would see it again.
Yeah.
2 hours and 40 minutes. It felt like 2 hours and 40 minutes, but not in a bad way. I don't know. I could have watched it for another half hour to an hour.
I could have watched it. Like I said, there were characters I disliked, but it wasn't because of the way they were done. It was because I was supposed to dislike them.
Yeah.
So, it wasn't like any of the actors I didn't really care for or anything. No, I enjoyed all of them. I thought they all did a good job.
And humor is so hard to do in a movie like this, when you're trying to sort of spread the humor around. And a lot of the time that doesn't work. If you're going to have a joke character, just make it that character and let everybody else play off of that. But for this one, it worked. Everybody's joke felt in character and something that they would actually say, not, okay, we have to write a joke for, Icarus, we have to write a joke for Faustus, we have to write a joke for Druig.
Well, it felt like this was a crew or a cast that had worked together before. All of them. I'm not picking on one or two, characters or anything. They all felt very comfortable with each other. Sometimes in these ensemble movies or these movies with a lot, you don't get that rapport, or people feel, very stiff or something.
Yeah.
No, I felt like I had, these people had been friends for a long time, and I think that's what they were, trying to get to.
Yeah.
So, yeah, overall, I thought it was, again, I thought, I'm not going to put it up there and say it's the best, movie in the MCU.
And it didn't have to be.
It didn't have to be. No. I mean, this was a new start for a bunch of new characters in a fairly new setting. Okay, yeah, it was Earth, but it was a new Earth after what they call the blip. And, we'll see what happens going forward. But I hope we see them again, and I hope we see them sooner rather than later.
Yes.
Hopefully we don't have to wait 4 years to see one of these characters in one of these movies.
Yeah.
Because by then you're gonna be like, and that's the danger. And I've been saying it for a little while. It's the danger with the MCU is that some characters you don't see for a long time, and you kind of lose a little interest in them.
Yeah.
Hopefully it won't happen. And I think that's the reason for these TV shows.
Yeah, I agree.
They can bring them out to us a lot quicker. So we'll see.
Well, all right. I think that's going to do it unless you have anything else to touch on.
No, I mean, I could talk about other stuff, but I'm not going to talk about that now because that would be getting into the other universe that you do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's the Star Wars show over at Followers of the Force.
I do have to say one thing, though.
Yeah.
As a Followers of the Force thing, the Star Wars movie people, they don't know what they're doing. So that's the only thing I'm going to say right now. I'll leave other comments for another time.
Yeah, let's just say it's let's just say a lot of announcements are made prematurely, and patterns have shown that it is very hard for those things to actually happen. But I'll leave it at that, and that's something we'll definitely talk about after Disney Plus Day, especially because that day's going to have a lot of Star Wars and Marvel stuff, which we'll definitely get into over here. So make sure to go listen to our discussion on Spider-Man 2002. We're starting a rewatch leading up to No Way Home, watching all 8 theatrically released Spider-Man movies, and definitely going to get into Hawkeye when that comes out, and any other Marvel news as that is released.
Yep, so, looking forward to Hawkeye. Maybe we'll get some Netflix people on there.
Yeah, 100%. So, all right, guys. Talk to you next week. And don't look for spoilers.